Hey everybody, it's George again. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm canning sweet potatoes. I come into some, normally I have them in the fall and I'll put them in the freezer, but where it's spring, they won't keep all summer, so I don't want them going to waste. I'm going to put them in a jar, and what I'm going to do is I'm just peeling the sweet potato, and I'm going to cut them up into squares, trying to get them about all uniform size so it cooks up even. But they're a little hard, you know what I'm saying? When you go to split them like I am, just be careful with your knife that it don't slip and cut you. But as you can see, I'm cutting them up in chunks about that big. It's probably 1 inch by 1 inch, and that way they'll cook evenly. And we'll have them for this fall when we want to make like sweet potato casserole or the sweet potatoes with brown sugar and butter on them and cinnamon. You can do these in little squares. That way, you just dip them out with a spoon. There's 100 different ways, but just like in the old days, if they was somebody come up on something and they got it, they didn't waste it. So I'm not gonna let these go to waste. And I'm hoping that I might have enough here to do 2 canners. If I do, that would equal about 14 quarts, and that'd be a plenty for a while. And plus what I have in the freezer or in the freezer out in the shed, that I guess you call it the insulated freezer or the dairy freezer. I'll do a video on it and show you how I done it. But basically, it's a freezer with extra insulation in it that I put all my root crops in during the fall, and they keep very well. It's a it's a simple idea. You can put them in the ground. If you're in colder climates and stuff, you can put them in the ground. And sometimes here, like last year, it got down in the negatives, and I was worried because I didn't know if my stuff would keep that low. I'd never, tried it with it being that low, but they did real well. I lost a couple potatoes and stuff, but overall they done excellent. I do think in the next couple weeks, if I can get somebody come and help me, maybe somebody with a backhoe, I might try to put a good sized freezer in the ground and try to do like a pulley system on the sides where you ain't sitting there with your head stuck down in a hole to grab something, but where you can kind of lift it up like with a tray and bring everything up with you. And I've seen where people have put jars down there like that, and they didn't freeze and bust. As long as you're below the frost level, they shouldn't freeze. And if you would take and put a little, I guess, straw around that freezer on the outside too, that would help with it. But I'm going to sit here and cut up and peel these sweet potatoes, and I'll come back and get you when I'm ready to put them in the jar, and then we'll go from there. Now, I'm going to do mine in a light syrup just to make them a little sweeter, but I'll show you how I do that also, and I'll be right back with you just in a few minutes. Okay, I'm down to the last sweet potato, and I find it better if you look right here. You'll see a little brown spot. It's like the eye of the potato was starting. Reach in there and give that a good cutout because it's hard as a rock. And when you cook the potatoes, it makes them look really bad. It's nothing, I don't reckon, that would hurt you. It's just where an eye was starting. But it just doesn't look good. And, you eat with your eyes before you do your mouth. So I wanted to step up there and tell you that real quick. And here in a second, I'll be done here, and I will go and count, make sure I got enough jars. If not, I'll wash them. And I will go ahead and show you how to make a simple syrup. A simple syrup is just 1 cup of sugar to, I do 5 cups of water. And then I just let it boil for a few minutes on the stove, then I'll let it cool back off. And that'll be what we put over the jars. But I will be doing like, well, since it depends how many quarts there is, I'll probably have to double that to make sure that the jars are full. But if you see one down in the pot that's bigger than the rest, just go ahead and cut it. That way everything's kind of uniform. You kind of want everything uniform because you don't want one hard and one not. Now, if you decide to make pumpkin pies with this, here's the slop bucket for the hogs. They'll be tickled to death. See all them stuff in there? Now, here's how many sweet potatoes I come up with. And where they're cubed, if I decide to make a pumpkin pie or something, I'll open a quart up, put it in there. Just a touch of water. Go ahead and put my nutmeg, cinnamon, all that in there. And then I'll just take a tater masher and mash them up and kind of get them to cooking just a little bit. And then I'll let it cool. Just when you put your finger in, it doesn't make you want to scream. You can rake that out and put it in a pie filling or pie crust, and then you'll be ready to make a sweet potato pie. I do my pumpkins the same way. You peel them, cut them up in squares. So I have to write on the lid of everything because I got orange pumpkins, I've got yellow pumpkins, I've got potatoes, red potatoes, and I try to write it on the lid. And I'm gonna go count jars real quick, and I may have to wash a couple. But when I get ready to put these in the jar, I'll bring you back, and we'll do that. We'll pour the simple syrup over them, put them in the pressure canner. Alrighty, I'll be right back with you just in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and pack these in the jar. And what I'm doing is I'm reaching in, getting a handful, then I shake them to make them settle down in the jar so I can get more in the jar each time. And once again, make sure you leave, about an inch of head space. And that way they can cook without busting the jars. Be sure you check your lip right here to make sure there's no cracks or nothing in it. On the last batch, I had one that cracked, had a gap in or a crack in there, chipped, and wasn't able to use it. But I did save the jar for sauerkraut. But see, if you shake that a little bit, they'll settle down in there pretty tight, and you can get a few more in the jar. I think I'm only going to have about 7 quarts that, to put up, but that's okay. I'm having turkey leg and thigh for supper, and I might make me what I call stovetop sweet potato casserole. You just take and put your sweet potatoes in the pot, cook them, add your simple syrup to it, let it cook real good. When it starts to cook down towards like they'll get soft, the potatoes get real soft. I'll lightly mash them, not hardly to a puree or like a mashed potato. Just lightly do it. Then I will melt some marshmallows down in it. And once the marshmallows melt, I'll put the little pot in the oven and let it kind of brown. And I eat it right out of the pot. I'll take it right out of the pot, put it on my plate and eat it. I don't eat it out of the pot, of course, but it's just a stovetop sweet potato casserole. It saves you all the time of doing one in the oven, and there's just me here. So, it doesn't take a lot to feed me, even though it probably looks like it does. But I'm going to go ahead and get these jars ready. Then I'll come back and we'll do the simple syrup. We'll pour it over them and get them in the canner. Now, we're going to put them in the pressure canner, and we're going to leave them in there for 90 minutes because there is no acidity to these here. And I'm not putting salt in them, I'm putting sugar. So I'm going to let them cook for a full 90 minutes. But I'll be right back with you, and we'll get to the next steps. Okay, I've done added my water to the pan, and I'm gonna add the sugar. What I have is 2 quarts of water, which would be 16 cups. Yeah, 16 cups. So I'm gonna add uh, 8 cups of sugar. This here is 1/3 of a cup, so I add 24 of these. That seems like a lot, but that's what it takes. And if I have any left over, I'll just add more sugar to it and cook it a little longer and make it kind of like vanilla syrup. The old people used to make it a lot like it just syrup they made on top of their stoves. And they eat it on pancakes, biscuits, and everything else. So, it was good, especially when you didn't know there was nothing else. We didn't know there was nothing else. If you ask mom or somebody for pancakes and syrup, they made pancakes, and this is how they made syrup with just sugar and water. They'd put a little vanilla in it, and that was just what it was. I mean, but there's just I didn't measure it out the sugar, but I went ahead and put it in there, and I'm gonna turn this on, and I'm gonna let it come to a boil, and I'm gonna let it boil for probably 10 minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, just when it looks like all the sugar has melted. And once it's done that and it's kind of come to a good boil, I'll let it cool down just enough to where it's, I can put it in the jars without it worrying about it busting the jars and stuff. Okay, when this gets to boiling, I'll come back to you, and we'll put everything in the jars. We'll get them in the pressure canner and get them took care of. While I'm waiting on this to boil, I'm going to make my supper. I got turkey leg and thigh. I'm going to put some salt and pepper, onion and garlic powder, and I'm going to put a little paprika on it. I'm going to bake it in the oven low and slow so it's real tender. And this turkey here decided one day he was the baddest man on the place. And me and him had to mix it up, you know what I'm saying? But, okay, people, use common sense. If you got a rooster that's beating on you and he won't stop, put him in a pot. If you got a turkey that wants to fight and beat and thrash on you, don't put up with that, because they can hurt you. These animals absolutely can hurt you. And, if you can't do it, call somebody and ask them, can you come over here? Maybe they'll do it and they'll process it and give you half of it or something where, you ain't sitting there getting beat up. There's no sense. If you got a dog that bites you, would you keep it? If you had a cat that was attacking you every time you turned around, would you keep it? Okay, it don't make sense to keep farm animals that are attacking you. And another thing, if you've got, let's say, some turkeys and chickens and stuff that are getting too old and they've stopped laying, or they've just about stopped laying, there ain't no need to keep them feeding that. Because, I understand pets and stuff, but this is like a business in a way. And for you to keep feeding animals that was past their prime or even laying and stuff, you're just, spending money for nothing. And if you get rid of them, I don't care if you give them to somebody or if you can cook them, put them in a pot and boil them till the meat falls off the bone, and make like chicken broth with meat in it, and then you can make chicken and dumplings later. But, I don't see no need of keeping an animal around that's so old it can't do nothing. And, it don't matter. A hen, any kind of hen or rooster, has got meat on it. And if you cook it long enough, slow and low, it will tenderize it, and you'll have something to put in your jars too. Don't waste nothing, but don't let animals beat on you, and don't waste your money feeding animals that ain't doing nothing to improve you. Okay, I want to touch on that real quick, but my dinner's in the oven. I think I may make me a little mashed potatoes, go with that here in a little bit. But when this water gets to boiling, I'll be back with you again. I want to come on here and show you something real quick. I always take and reuse my rings, and when I get done canning something, when it's cool and it's sealed, I take the rings off. But if you look, sometimes this little inner lip right here will be sticking up. I take my finger and just run it around there a little bit to kind of reach, where it'll seep back down on that jar lid. That just meant it got a little too much pressure in the cooker. It didn't hurt nothing, but I always try to mash them back down real quick. And that way that it properly grabs a hold of that flat to the jar. And it just takes a second to do it. I'm going to start another pot over here with some vinegar and water, and I'm going to put all this in it. And that way it's sterilized. And a lot of people say you don't have to do it where you're pressure canning it, but I'd rather do it. And I know there's nothing, touching nothing that could cause my food to go bad. But I wanted to show you that just in case nobody ever showed you. But it really seals out here on this part here. But I still like to know that little lip right there is mashed down. And it's going to help hold that lid down. Alrighty. This water, the sugar's done melted. And I'm going to let it come to a little bit of a boil. It's still coming up to a boil. But I'm going to kind of keep it stirred to make sure that the sugar don't stick to the bottom of the pot too. But we still like a few minutes, but I want to come back on here and talk to you about that. Alrighty, I'll see you in a second. Okay, my water has boiled now for about 2 minutes. I'm not looking for it to hard boil, but just make sure everything mixed well. I got my funnel. And I've already used this with the water and sugar, so I'm going to go ahead and use it in this. Now I'm just going to dip this syrup out and pour it slowly into these jars. And I want it to come almost, just to the top of the sweet potatoes. And I have a little saucer sitting here under the jar to help catch the mess again. Let me get a knife to I just use a butter knife. I know a lot of people tell you not to, but just to make sure there's no air bubbles. If you're real careful, don't jam it down in there. You shouldn't hurt your jar. But that's what it's about, is making sure that you don't scar your jar. And I'm gonna reach down here in this water. It's vinegar water to make sure that all this stuff is clean. My hands are clean, but I'm gonna put a lid on the jar. Put the ring on it. Just put it tight. Don't bear down on it. You just kind of want it finger tight, about like this. And then I'm going to set it over here in the pressure canner. So when I get done, I can just move it over here on the eye and start them to cooking. Here's another jar. I don't have nothing that'll hold that at an angle to where y'all can see what I'm doing exactly, but I'm just catching the syrup water, or the simple syrup, into this thing, pouring it over top of the sweet potatoes in the jar, and repeating the process until they're all done. Okay. Once again, I'm going to take my knife, run it down the side of the jars to make sure that you don't have air pockets, because if you do, it can make the jars pop. And I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these. There's 5 more. I'll do them, and I'll come right back to you. Okay, now I'm going to set the jars over here on this eye. I'm going to fill the pot up to the rim, up to this ring with water where it says to. I'm going to turn it on and let it cook for 90 minutes on 10 pound of pressure. Now, in the last video where I canned turnips, which I can show you again, I always look, take this off and make sure you can see through it and blow through it. If you can, it shouldn't be stopped up. Put the lid on your pot. Let it set to start steaming. Some people says 5 minutes, some people says 10 minutes. I just let it start steaming good. It may be 5 minutes, I don't know, 10 minutes. But I put the jiggler on it after that, and then it goes for a full 90 minutes. I'm going to start taking my shoes off on account. I did graduate high school, went to a little bit of college, but I ended with 8 jars of sweet potatoes, and that's okay because I got some simple syrup left. They're about to get cooked in that simple syrup, go with my chicken leg and thighs my turkey leg and thighs for supper. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this going. When it's done cooking, I'll come back. We'll take the jars out, show you what they look like, and we'll let them seal, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, you can see the steam coming through. I'm going to go ahead and put the little jigger on there and wait and let it jiggle. When it starts jiggling, we'll let it go for 90 minutes, and then we will take the jars out, put them on the freezer, and let them seal. Alrighty, I'll see y'all in a little while. I'm still working on supper too, but I'll come back when I get this going to go over on the freezer. And I'll talk to y'all in a little while. This here likes about 15 minutes, and I'm going to set it off. But see how slow that's jiggling? It's not losing its mind or nothing. That's how you want your little jigger to work. I cooked these sweet potatoes down. There they are. I'm going to have them for supper. But my supper's ready, so I'm going to go ahead and eat. Y'all have a great day. Have a blessed day. Be good to each other. And we'll see you on the next video.